Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to episode 18, I think, of Smallville, the saviour of Superman. Yes, I am getting lost with these episode numbers, but it doesn't matter. We're back again to talk about Smallville. Unlike all the other comic book TV shows that are out these days, Smallville didn't really have much hype or much expectation. That's one thing that was on its side, if you like. Yes, there was a trailer. Yes, there was some buzz. But at the end of the day, nobody knew what this show was going to be. It was a great trailer they gave us, but at the end of the day, we didn't know what this show was going to be. All we knew that this show was called Smallville. We kind of knew that a young Clark Kent would be the star of this show, of course, but we didn't really know what this show was going to be. Now, for me, I didn't even know this show was coming, apart from a newspaper clipping a year before saying they were developing a young Clark Kent TV show, and my first kind of reaction was, oh no, not Superboy again. Because we had a Superboy TV show. I didn't want another Superboy TV show. And this is when we were assured by Alan Miles that there's no flights, no tights. It's not that type of show. But then you ask yourself, what type of show is it then? And this is what we didn't know. And I think after you watch the pilot, you kind of understand what this show's going to be. And it's a freak. It's freaking nuts. This pilot is nuts. Because the things it puts together, as amazing as this pilot is, you think, well, this is different, isn't it? This is really different. But also you get the Dawson's Creek feel to it. You get the Buffy feel to it. It's interesting. This show was very inspired by those kind of pre-2000 successful TV shows. Buffy, Angel, 90210, Dawson's Creek. But with a young Clark Kent, with a pre-Superman story. Now, despite Smallville being heavily inspired by those shows, they weren't ripping off those shows. And I think the kind of areas where the characters were in were very similar. The school, the coffee shop, you know. Early Smallville really revolved around that. And quickly, I think after the third, fourth seasons, there wasn't so much Talon. There wasn't, obviously, the school years were over after season 4 as well. So that helped them create a new era for the show as well. So Smallville is an interesting kind of test case in the sense of what it did. Because despite it being inspired by these classic shows, it was a far more emotional show. One of the big successes of Smallville was its emotional aspect and how they were able to garner this thing where you believed in the character dynamics. I think more than any other show, and certainly more than the shows that I've just name dropped. I think that was the thing with Smallville. It built on the emotional dynamics between its characters, and they did a lot of close cameras on faces. They wanted to see expressions, and I think that was very important. So as I say, this show was as amazing with its emotional dynamics as it was telling this pre-Superman story, telling this Lex and Clark story. It's interesting because I think Titans are going to have their own Lionel Luthor. And when you see him sitting by the chair with Connor Kent, and you just think, oh my God, you know, there's only one Lionel Luthor, it's the OG. You have to go back. And when you see this picture, and when you see him on Titans, you're going to have to take a shower because you're going to feel dirty. Because, you know, Lionel Luthor, long hair, beard, freaking awesome. This guy, short grey hair, looks like he should be in a retirement home. I mean, he looks familiar. He looks like a really good actor. I'm not disrespecting the actor. But this is what I'm saying. Smallville touched on something incredibly special. Their casting of John Glover is just that piece of casting. I have never seen a piece of casting on a show of this type, which was so good. And John was, you know, a theatrically trained actor. He'd been in Gremlins. He'd been in Scrooged with Bill Murray. He's amazing in Scrooged. He didn't have a big role, but it was big enough to kind of remember him from. And at first, I didn't recognise him. I didn't realise that was the same person. This was a young John Glover in Scrooge. You know, short hair, good looking. I'm not saying that he doesn't look good looking with the long hair and the beard, but he looked extremely different. But John Glover showed what real acting is. And it was amazing because what John Glover and Alan Miles created with Lionel Luthor was a character that you could like, that you were interested in, but obviously you hated him as well. He was pure evil, especially, I think, season 2 and season 3, he was at his most darkest. And then from season 4, they tried to redeem the character. And it was an interesting redemption, and it was never a total redemption. But I want to talk about a scene between John Glover and Jane Seymour. And Jane Seymour is a better actor than people give her credit for, by the way. So this whole episode, she's threatening to kill Lex if Lionel doesn't hand over the element that he's got. And I think this is brilliant because it looks like Lionel's a bit scared of her at the start of the episode. But the thing is, with characters like Lionel, you shouldn't push them into a corner, because Lionel may be intelligent, but in the end, if he's got no intelligent solution, he will get his claws out and scratch you. And this is what he does. He literally in the end thinks, fuck it, I'm just going to, do you know what? I'm just going to kill this bitch. And that's what he does. But he doesn't really want to kill her. He just wants to keep the threat of death. So he pours her this scotch, which she doesn't know at that time, but he's poisoned it. So she drinks it, and she's laying there struggling. Right, she's about to die, and he goes, "This is the antidote, Genevieve." And she's got her hands out. He goes, "The element." It's just brilliant. The element, Genevieve. It's just classic John Glover, classic Lionel Luthor, and I'm smiling because it was just great to see. Because you never want to see a character like Lionel weak. And it's very interesting, actually, in the episode Descent. Was he weak at that time? I think when you first see that scene when Lex kills him, you think, oh, he's a bit weak here, isn't he? But he's not. He's creating a manipulation. He manipulated Lex into killing him. I spoke about this the other day. We better not go over the same ground again. And I love to hear what you have to say about that. But, yeah, I think that Lionel Luthor was an amazing character. And even if he wasn't in the scene, you kind of thought, well, what's the bastard up to now? And look, they created a brilliant character, and obviously when he left, there was a big hole to plug. Quite frankly, they never plugged the hole of Lionel Luthor, and I think this was problematic. I said it before, I think Tess needed a kind of Lionel Luthor type mother figure to play off of, and they couldn't get John. John left at that time. I don't know whether it was from choice or for support from Al and Miles leaving the show as well. I don't know. All I know is that Al, Miles, John, Christian and Michael all left at the same time. And that, my friends, is no coincidence, is it? There's no coincidence in show business. I can tell you that much in the entertainment industry. But they should have replaced him with someone. And people would have accused them of just copying and just doing the same thing. It doesn't matter. I think if you bring someone for Tess to play off of in season 8, Tess becomes more of an interesting character. Because Tess is a really interesting character in the season premiere of season 8 and early season 8. But they water her down very quickly. And this is probably down to the CW again. Here's Kelly and Brian creating a very interesting female character, just as dangerous and psychotic as Lex, but they water her down. That's the problem. So, I mean, in the opening titles, you've got her punching a punching bag, which I assume is to show how strong she is. And, yeah, crap, right, stupid. But, yeah, Tess, I think, could have been very, very interesting. I like the fact that she ended up being Lionel's daughter and all of that. But they could have played with that in more darker, deeper. They could have made her a deeper cut. And that would have been very interesting. And in the end, it was the CW. This is the problem with the CW, because their target audiences are young females. And this is how they slowly they watered down Smallville. And if it wasn't for Kelly and Brian's genius, the final 3 seasons would have been totally terrible. But I think the last 3 seasons are good to a point because of Kelly and Brian. Because I think because Kelly and Brian came in and were brought in by Al Miles, they understood how to run a good show. And I think Smallville was always a good show throughout its inception to its very final episode. But it would have been a lot better if the CW weren't constantly watering down the show after they took over the network. But that, my friends, is unfortunate, and that's the way it goes. So what is your favourite? I want to know, what is your favourite thing about Smallville? What's your favourite character? What's your favourite episode? What's your favourite storyline? I want to know. Comment down below. Please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to come and follow me over on Twitter at Movies TV Mad.